Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Sophie. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. It's the slowest happy birthday I've heard in a while. I don't know.
In a while.
Yeah. Elongated. Yes, if you don't know, it is my birthday, and I'm a big child when it comes to birthdays, especially my own. I get very excited. I don't know why. I just think, oh, what's going to happen? And I don't really...
Well, you like planning other people's birthdays.
I do.
So it's hard for you to like, oh, what's going to happen with yours, because you can't plan it.
Yeah.
As such.
So I get excited to think what other people might have planned for me.
And as tradition, when we started from the get-go, was doing these birthday specials.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's another one.
And I like them because normally I get to hold the reins and pick what we're watching, and normally that doesn't happen on this podcast. So I feel like once a year I get that privilege. 3
different varying films.
I think I've done well this year. Been quite diverse. Normally I kind of put you through the ringer and it's a romance.
I feel like that was last time. I remember that was like America's Sweethearts, and yeah.
I think you did shoehorn some of your own in there though. I'm sure there was that one where there was that robot romance.
I thought that was a different one.
I remember there has been definitely birthday specials where you've had your little
and did I
encouragement
somewhat influence you this time?
A little, but to be fair, it's my own fault. I had a toss-up with the one that neither of us had seen.
Yeah. Well, we're going to start with that, but would you like to tell the good people what we're going to be covering?
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one that me and Paul haven't seen is Babylon, which I always want to sing that.
David Gray song.
Yeah, didn't even know his name, but it's the Babylon song. And then the one that I have seen, and Paul hasn't, which is Enchanted, the Disney film. And last but not least is the film we've both seen.
Now this one surprised me that you suggested this one actually.
Is 8 Mile. So I think I've seen it once.
Truth be told, the same.
Really?
Yeah.
And we'll get into that.
yeah, we will. But I'm going to start off with the one we haven't seen, which is Babylon.
Babylon.
Yeah, right from the get-go, it's a very long film.
It is. And can we just have a bit of background on this? Because for your birthday, I actually bought you this in 4K. You did, so let's just say it was a bit of a selfish buy, I guess, because I always, when he gives me lists, because I never know what the hell Paul wants. And
half the time, yeah.
Or what Paul already has, because he's got such a collection.
Uh-huh.
I need a list for your birthday to be like, right, okay, I want this, this and that. And then normally he gives me links and everything like that. This year he didn't. He was just like, this is what I want in 4K. I'd previously been stung in the bottom when buying Paul a birthday gift or Christmas present and being thoughtful and thought, oh, I bought you this gift. And like, for example, the one that we saw in Japan.
Yeah, Mirai. Yeah.
I think we saw it on the plane either coming home or...
Yeah, it was either one of the plane journeys.
Yeah. We watched it, basically, we both put it on and watched side by side and were really cute about it. I was like, oh, this is a lovely little movie that we'll remember forever. Mm-hmm. It's like, right, I'll make sure it's out, obviously, in the UK, and I'll get him that copy. Well, I think, I don't know, they've probably got you a Blu-ray, I think, so I thought I was doing really well.
Yeah, you say like it wasn't a
Blu-ray. Like, it's not like I just got him a DVD, you know, it was the highest standard of media out there at that time.
I think it still is. It doesn't have a 4K if that's what you get.
Yeah. So it's like, I thought I'd done solid until I forgot who I'm married to now. Who needs a leaflet or a booklet or some exclusivity to it, which I just bought in the bog standard Blu-ray.
Boo.
So he sold mine on eBay, and he bought the new version that he wanted.
Limited edition.
Yeah. So a nice, thoughtful gift from me.
Still, it wasn't just like I don't want it at all.
No, but it was a bit tarnished because it's like, oh, well, you just bought me a piece of shit here. There's a better option. So this time I went all out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like kind of grilling you, like, oh, does it need to be a tin, steel, whatever the books are?
Steel book is the term. I can't remember I said after, is that does the artwork look like nice or something?
I'm thinking, I don't know. What's Paul's standard of nice? I'm just going to buy it.
Yeah, truth be told, there is sometimes the steelbooks look a bit rubbish in comparison to...
Please don't tell me I've wasted my money.
No, this is nice packaging, so like nice, like or mirrored image on it and everything like that. I might do like a picture of that of...
You have to.
Yeah. I know, sorry, they will have seen it on when I did the
birthday.
Post. Yeah, so...
So selfishly, I was like, oh, this is quite interesting. And every time I buy Paul a gift, I normally read what it is and then
double check.
Buy it as well. Because I think, oh, I might like it. And this is where we're at. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But from the get-go, like you say, it's full on. It's...
well, I mean, yeah, from the get-go it is...
Exporting an elephant.
Full on in the visuals and everything going on. And like,
there's some things where... part of this, I'm like, it's a bit like Marmite. For me, there's certain bits where, like, the elephant shitting on that man, I do not appreciate.
I was like, oh Christ. Like, what are we in for here? Like,
and I did not anticipate that in this film. There's projectile vomiting as well, and it's kind of a bit like, you're lowering the tone. And I don't know, I'm very confused after watching it. And also a bit sweet because... they're shoehorning a lot of my favourite film into this, and I'm not sure how I feel with the fact that they're...
We'll get onto that a little bit later.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Margot Robbie is in it, so that is obviously tick. Yeah, she's literally golden, isn't she?
At the moment, she's like the big favourite of Hollywood, I guess, in actual reality and the film reality, of course.
She's beautiful, she's brilliant, and she's... I don't know, she's just got that presence when she's on a screen. Like, she just owns it. She does. And that's kind of what her character has on here. The way that she dances, the way that she moves, and she's so free. And, yeah, she's fantastic. She's called Nellie within this. And I feel like this is 3 hours long, this film is. And I know we've got to kind of do a bit of a whistle tour. I feel like the other two films that we've got... I feel like we're going to be covering more of this probably. And
there's a lot to, Well,
there's not so much
too deep to like every single step of this, but we'll kind of just a brief overview, like our thoughts.
We'll try as best. Yeah. Obviously, with a brief overview of this, it probably the other two are shorter films, so there's not going to be as much to discuss.
Content, there's a lot of content.
There's a lot going on. What I do love about the film is the aging of the characters. I really enjoy that. Like seeing somebody in the prime and then seeing them go
using makeup because it only takes a space of a few years. So it's not like jumping massive gaps as such.
No, but how dramatic their life has changed and their choices and how their life has...
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. And that's what the film is going for. It's a very much roaring 20s in some depraved, crazy... LA party kind of thing, and then
I don't know if it feels like what my roaring 20s in my head is. It's not a traditional roaring 20.
No, I feel like it may be very much exaggerated. I think to a point of like they have these wild parties out in Hollywood type of thing, and this is just
I would never want to go.
Top.
I'd hate it. There was loads of people naked at the first scene, and just I don't know. There was an awful scene with one massive guy and she's pissing on him.
Yeah, there was another thing thinking, oh Christ, here we go. Like
Jesus. And then I don't know, and then she overdoses, I think, at one point, and then she's dead. There's a lot of people that die.
Yeah, and it's shown like sort of like it's not all glitz and glam. There's sort of like an underbelly to this whole like lifestyle, and it's not pretty. I mean, you can't be oblivious to that. Oh yeah, people just do snort coke and just get wasted on whiskey and champagne and all that kind of stuff. But obviously they don't really show that in those like old like black and white wands and stuff, do they? Because
Yeah.
it's a different tone, obviously, to make it all like glamorous and like, oh, you look at the screen in awe and like, oh, isn't it nice? In those kind of scenarios.
But I feel like they were classy back then. I feel like there was an element of class to them. And I don't feel like they would have just like
let loose to that.
Not to the point of where they were taking the clothes off, because I feel like that was disrespectful at that point.
Sex.
It would have been sex and the
taboo. Yeah.
Yeah.
You wouldn't see stuff
even
like
in
on
the 50s.
screen.
It would have been a bit like.
Oh yeah.
So that was a bit like, are they trying to do a 20s style but a modern twist to what would be acceptable nowadays?
Yeah, pushing it to the limit, because for a modern audience, you've got to be extreme.
No, I didn't need any of that. I didn't. It was, I was kind of, but then that was only like half an hour.
Half an hour, and then you just get Babylon come up on the screen, and that's like a prelude to everything. That's kind of just setting up like that. Nelly, you're coming on set tomorrow. Go get some sleep, kind of stuff. Like
she's brilliant. Like Margot Robbie, we watched her in Barbie. Yes, we know she can cry, but the fact that she can just be like cry on demand, like, is, well, first of all, it's fantastic. But I feel sorry for whoever is her partner, if she does have one, because you'd never know when she was being generally upset to when she's actually can just cry. But I guess it's obviously some memory of hers. Like she said, the character Nelly, I just think of home. It's kind of obviously something she's got a sad moment that she'll think of when she does do it. I quite like Nelly as a character, even though she's high maintenance, she's flamboyant, she's hard work, she's a free spirit. She's had a lot of things go wrong for her. And I think she's the underdog, and I think you kind of root for her to want to be successful, because people always look down at her and think she's not good enough.
Yeah, she's constantly going through the film saying that, the boys at school ripped on me, and so did the girls, and your family and all that kind of stuff. It's just like she I don't know how it outlines. There's no like flashbacks or anything to it. This is all just like, that's all you need to know from her. Like, you just saying it straight as it is.
Yeah.
To know exactly like what she's going through. She's escaping to get to the big screen she's got there. Yada yada. And
I think that's what's lovely when Manny and her are together, and like the love of film and how it's an escapism.
They sort of go into a room and explain that, don't they?
And I feel like it's a quite sweet romance, like something blossoming, and you can see this like relationship blooming, and it's lovely to kind of see it all
go on that journey.
Yeah.
You
feel like you are kind of going through the years with them.
Yeah, I think that's the Damon Chazelle who's done La La Land and Whiplash. He's going for taking elements from almost both of those films in a sense. Combine them together.
There's certain parts of this I would say don't need to be in this film that I hate, but then there's a lot that I love.
Right. What? Another example other than like shitting and pissing. What?
It's going way towards the end.
Right. Fair enough. We'll leave it for that then.
Which I think it gets a little bit like more darker and yeah.
Well, we've also got Brad Pitt as well. He's another character we kind of focus on as well. He's
already at the peak of his career. He's doing really well.
Yeah, everyone's like,
praise
him.
He can do no wrong. He can turn up on set and be completely rat-assed, and it doesn't matter. He's royalty. He's up there. And I think for his character, it really does show how lonely it must get when your career like demises and you are no longer that star.
It's your popularity. Then I think a lot of actors do go through that throughout the years. It tells all this time, really, as musicians or whoever's like a big celebrity, and then next day, all things can change, and you're just back to being, who's that again, kind of thing. Yeah. You've forgotten who you are.
And I think it's
the price you pay.
When you're so shiny and you're so sparkly and you think you're so important, and then just to be normal, it must be hard. If you're normal all the time, there's, you don't know any better.
Yeah.
You can't come down from anywhere, whereas that must be a massive hit to reality when nobody calls you, you're not invited to anything. He helps Manny though to be on a set and kind of gives him that chance to prove himself. I love the fact of the old film cameras and the way that it's a movie about a movie.
Yep.
It shows them filming sets.
And that it in itself looks like chaos. When that sort of like setting up the what was it? Hang on, what was it called?
The fact that they're filming like 2 films right next to one another as well.
Kinoscope, which is like, I think obviously the base point for the studio. Obviously, like I said, literally just sound stages where it's just like, right, film, because it's all silent films. Like, it doesn't matter about the sound that's all the chaos that's going around.
I didn't actually realise it was a silent film while I was watching it. I was thinking, how's this going to work? Like, there's just so much racket.
Other than obviously there's orchestral stuff, but I don't know how that's picking that up as well as because of all the other shouting and stuff that's going on. But on the base point of like just film to film, there's a screen right next to another scene where that's going on and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, they're just madness. But I can imagine probably still today it can sometimes be a bit like that in the
I can imagine,
set,
especially
like
now,
around runners and
the microphones as well, and soundboardings. You could have 2 things being filmed in each room and it being fine to do so, but it being chaotic because there's just the time pressures of having to get everything out, isn't it?
But I like that one scene in particular. Obviously, you mentioned about Margot Robbie's characters, like just doing a single tear in a take, and she's like, "Oh, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen." And then you got Brad Pitt's character Jack. He's obviously waiting to do a scene, and like, "Oh, we've got no cameras, Manny. You need to go and get one from the rent one out." And obviously taking literally all day to get a camera, and the sunset's going down. And it's like, "Oh, we're going to lose." The director's like pulling his hair out. We're losing light, and that kind of stuff is like that. And he's been drinking all this time, Jack has, and he's thinking, "Oh, he's not going to be able to pull this scene off." And yet somehow he just gets into character, snaps into it, and it's obviously shot in the way of like how amazing he is portrayed, like looking through the lens almost, and just like plays that character so perfectly, and like Manny's like mesmerised by it, and
the butterfly landing on the shoulder,
like, perfect
lighting and ambience and everything, and
explode, cannons firing, like a proper thing,
and they get it in one take, and it's like
yes, that's the best, because even like looking at when another scene like before when they do like lunch and it's all quiet after this battle of whatever's going on, and you kind of see in the cameraman like for him like rolling the reel, and then it cuts through the lens and you can see as the cameraman sees it like through the lens of just that little square box of what's thing, and then when you see it past the camera and like just all the running at each other.
It's just wasted acting because nothing's getting caught on film.
But you got to have that built. So it's not like a panoramic view like a modern camera might have these days. Like literally the director's got to see that scope of the size of everything. So
but I think everything, the way it is filmed on this, is quite cleverly thought of. You do get different forms of media throughout here, basically. The way that they're going to black and white towards the end, and it goes shorter into the films. So it is fluctuating your format a bit, not throughout, but it makes you realise that actually this is what a film would have looked like back in the day compared to what we're getting now.
Days,
So it's interesting in that aspect. Keeps you on your toes. I think everything about this film, I don't know if somebody was high when they wrote it, because some bits are really great and then other bits are like, what the hell is somebody thinking?
The other side character with kind of his sister as well as Manny's, he's kind of like in between them both almost, is Sydney, who's like, he's kind of also part of the background as well a little bit, where he's like the jazz, he plays the trumpet, doesn't he? And he has sort of like his success story throughout as well, but he's more of a background character.
I think we see 3 characters kind of progress within their career, and you see 3 different outcomes of how it can end.
Yeah, pretty much, because he's the one that kind of lives on, essentially.
And
he gets out at a point where it's like, nah, this is degrading for me at a point.
And I'd rather do what I love for a smaller crowd than belittle myself and my values.
Yeah.
And I think he still is the one that actually gets on top. He wins in the end, overall.
So I thought the music as well, because I'm guessing Damien Chazelle likes his jazz music.
Was he the guy that when they were playing, somebody said you keep playing flat? Was he the actual one that was playing flat?
No, I think he was pointing out to people, like, cause like he was like, because he was so affecting on the art of the music, and he's like, no man, you're messing it all up for everybody and stuff. So that it wasn't him.
Right. Yeah. We've also got Faye as well, who is a character within this. She's famous from the get-go. She's as high up as like Brad Pitt is. you see her performing at the party at the very beginning, which also she's pretty much, I feel like she's an open lesbian within this as well. So it is quite modernised for what the Roaring Twenties would be.
Not that I say there probably would not have been.
I don't think they'd have been as open about it.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm meaning.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's what I'm kind of, certain points of this is modernised, because I don't think, not saying there shouldn't have been, but it wouldn't have been as condoned. Yeah. But she seems to kind of have a bit of a thing for Nelly, I would say. Both free spirits. And I think just sometimes like the scene when she was on stage worked really, really well. Like the lighting of it, the dark and moody, the smoking, like just capturing that and the appeal that she had while she was on stage. Just brilliant cinematography within the film. So she's a bit, don't know, she's kind of a side character. She's not. She
kind of comes in between both the Brad's and Margot's characters, really.
And I think to be fair, she's a strong female character. She's comes across as the nicest one to be in showbiz.
Mostly humble in a sense, yeah. She kind of, like you say, doesn't have like the big showboaty attitude to everything. She's kind of like, yeah.
Also, you see the side of her helping her family still, who like work in a laundry or
facility. So she's got sort of those values as well. So she's not completely like, oh, I'm not too high and mighty for you now. Yeah, so I think that's down to like heritage of culture, family values. Yeah. So
we kind of find out about Nelly and her mum being in an institution as well, showing like Nelly's background. Her dad's a bit not the smartest. He doesn't do maths or not really good at his spelling or anything like that, which still takes him on because it's like it's my dad.
Road manager, whatever.
Yeah. And then I think she gets to a point where I don't know if he actually dies at that point when she says,
fight a snake.
Yeah.
I think it's just passed out. I don't think he's,
But I think she's getting sick of all his like bullshit. Like, so she's like calling his bluff a little bit, but also saying my dad, I don't know, she's going, my dad's the best man here because he can fight a snake. Or he keeps saying he fights a snake. Well, prove you can fight one then. Yeah. I don't know.
I think that's a thing of the fact that men say a lot of bullshit.
So she's making them walk the walk, basically.
Yeah.
And I think some men in this are quite sexist. They're quite piggish, but I guess, to be honest, that's what the 20s was, sadly.
And so we're dipping into the 30s as well. So there's
even in the 50s, like women were still.
So there's a few times now, like in how the films are with, and you've pointed out obviously, like women always seem to damsel in distress kind of thing, and all that kind of is perceived as weak in whatever way. But, you know,
I think Margot Robbie's character she does need a man to help her. But I think she's more hard work for the man, actually, to be fair. I think Manny would be better off without her. And she does say that, like, I just make you sad. Like, I'd just go off without me.
That always sounds like a relationship thing. So it's not you, it's me. And with women, it's just...
I think it's more as well the woman never feels worthy enough.
One of the very funny scenes, which I guess is sort of, like I said before, about how things are sort of relating to Singing in the Rain in a sense, when Nellie's having to do the sort of like her first like talkie, basically, and she's like that college dorm, whatever, she's playing in that role, and it's kind of like everyone's like, right, cameraman in this tiny little box sweltering, there's no, you've got to be quiet, can't have aircon on, too noisy. Like so many different takes, and then just like, someone's opening the stage door, and it's like, can't you see the lights on? And
wearing the wrong shoes,
too quiet, too loud, all this kind of stuff. And and as I say, that probably
you
still
didn't
occurs.
Put it in the position where you should have done.
Stand on the mark,
And she just flips, doesn't she? Bless her.
I feel like how we've been with like, it's too warm, and you might get people get snappy. The fact that I think it's just the heat gets to you a little bit, but and also the fact of having to repeat the same thing over again for the tiniest thing, and someone sneezed and.
But to be fair, this is how I feel like I am on this podcast. Like if I hiccup or like I've just touched my paper, Paul's like, then I get like this evil stare of you need to be silent just before we start, and then if I go. Then it's an issue. So I kind of relate when we're doing this recording.
How can you? You're not the one normally editing it.
No, but I relate to how Margot Robbie's character in there does feel frustrated because she'll get that evil glare of, you're messing this up.
Yeah, I can just find it funny. It's always funny to see when somebody else is shouting at somebody. And you're not involved at all. You're just witnessing because it's like, oh yeah.
Even the poor cameraman passes out because of the heat, bless him.
Oh, he dies, literally.
Oh yeah, he does die, yeah. He does
not just passes out, yeah. So from that, it's like, did he even record what was that perfect take? It's a bit like, I joke to you, it's a bit like when we're seeing like Disaster Artist and like how many takes that, oh hi Mark, kind of.
But to be fair, this is a lot better. Like when she does do it, it is a lot.
Yeah, at least it's I did not hit her.
Yeah, it is a coherent kind of acting piece.
I did not.
Just love shoehorning that in, don't you? It's my birthday.
Sorry.
And you even have to put the worst film in. How dare you? Yeah. Can we go on to the fact of the amount of Singing in the Rain references?
Yeah, let's get into that. Yeah.
So obviously, like you said, you mentioned that one. It kind of talks, well, it does. It brings up the talkies.
Yeah. Being
the massive thing.
Yeah.
And weirdly, Nellie is dressed in literally the same thing. I forgot the character's name.
Lena,
yes. Lamont.
Yeah.
She's in the kind of corset dress, the massive wigs and everything like that. And she goes, Pierre. And then I'm like waiting for her to say you shouldn't have come. And I'm like, this is like Singing in the Rain. And you're like, no, they could just literally, I'm like, no, that's Singing in the Rain. And then it seemed to then Peter in more, and you were like, oh shit, she's actually right. Yeah. We had Singing in the Rain, literally, where there was like the arc behind them.
Yeah, it was a different thing entirely, but yeah.
But the song Singing in the Rain, they had the raincoats, but they weren't yellow.
Yeah.
And they were swaying to the song.
I don't know why they were pink, actually. It looked a bit weird.
It did. And they were see-through as well. And obviously that's how we see the third character get his debut.
Yeah.
Because Manny asks him how does he think the shot is, and he's like, well, you're pointing the wrong way.
Yeah.
So that helps them both get their career
off the ground, yeah.
Yeah.
A new direction.
So then we have another one where Jack is, obviously, he's done really well at the stills and
the silent films.
The silent films, yeah. And then coming into talkies, he's not doing it as well. This sounds very similar.
Yeah.
And then there's one line where his films are flop and he's like saying, I love you. And we're like, wonder where that's from. Yeah. And
the crowd's laughing and and he's like, oh, I'm ashamed. Yeah.
And I kept on saying to you, like, I'm like looking at you like, what is this?
Yeah.
And in the end, it does confirm it because he
so.
goes and watches a film. Does Manny?
This is at the very end, like years and years later, when he comes. He's kind of escaped from
everything else we haven't said yet.
Yeah. But we'll circle back to this part at the very end. But
yeah. But a lot of Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, there's
nods.
I
don't know if it's complimenting Singing in the Rain.
I definitely think it is. You've got to take that as a good thing, how much of an impact it has had. So, like, one of the, when you said about, Nellie was, like, needing Manny at, like, desperate times because she's, like, out on a luck and she's, like, been gambling with, getting deep with the sharks and everything, and now it's, like, I need 85 grand to somewhere. Manny, can you please help me? Please.
I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I think she's always been a wild card. She was called Wild Child on the silent films. She's always been one that's not really thought about the consequences. She's
leaping before she looks.
Yeah, pretty much. And Manny's always, I think, admired that and found that very attractive of her. Yeah. Until he has to pick up her pieces, and then I think you see Manny kind of getting really frustrated because he becomes a director. He's having her as his, like, famous actress.
Sure. And everyone's like, oh, she's just off the rails here.
Yeah. And I think it's because everyone's talking about her and she's in the media and press and she's just been watched at every single move. I can imagine that must be absolutely exhausting. And she's not being raised from a well-to-do background. So everyone's judging her on that aspect too.
Yeah, like all the upper class people.
Because there is one scene where she does projectile vomit. And I think it really ruins it for me because her speech in this, she's like, the joke that she delivers is great. It's like so hilariously funny. And the way that Margot Robbie delivers it is fantastic. And then she stuffs loads of food in her face and it's like at this really posh place. And she's making a point and it's like, yeah, get it, I love you.
Yeah.
Then she has to be like, and it's like, oh, you've just lowered the tone. For me, it's like, it was great until she had to be sick. And then she was sick on somebody's carpet, and then she was sick in someone's face, and I was like, oh,
yeah, and then other people are going, ugh.
And I'm like, I was like, no, if
Yeah,
everyone else is going to be then flipping sick, this is just like my level of scale radar over the top.
Yeah, it's going down a bit, yeah.
But then it was fine, they didn't.
Yeah,
They were okay.
And she's like a little bow and everything, as if like, again, as if that was purposely making a point. I guess that's maybe why she went back in rather than just be sick outside. Be like, oh, I'll just ruin you.
Carpet, and yeah.
Yeah, but... Yeah.
Also saying your food is shit, basically.
Yeah.
But poor Manny, he just has to pick up all the pieces and get 85 grand to basically bail her out. Yeah. And he does it because he genuinely loves her. He's loved her from day one. He said that, didn't he, to her?
Yeah.
He does... There's this guy that just hands out peanuts, and he's got... I think they've got pills in them for you to take.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's to calm your nerves or some form of drug.
Probably something else, yeah.
And...
Yeah, he says, oh, I've got the money, I'll help you out here. And then turns out it's just some fake prop money. And then obviously dealing with this guy who's a bit...
Well, it's a weird-ass Spider-Man guy.
Yeah, Tobey Maguire. And I'm like, oh my god, yeah.
Not seen him in anything else.
Looking a bit... Yeah, he looks like he's on something. He's like, bags under his eyes. And yeah, he's...
This bit I kind of could do without. This
going
scene.
to this like torture sex dungeon.
I'm like, I'm sure this isn't going to be in the roaring 20s or even 30s. Like, I don't think so.
No, I think, well, there is a film literally called Freaks, and that was set in like the 1930s, and that kind of like banned for years because it's like actually showing like actual genuine freaks, like people with deformities and kind of stuff.
It's awful.
It's, yeah.
They might still exist, possibly. Yeah. Like, to be fair, you know what Americans are like.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Something like that probably does exist even worse now. I was in the 30s and now we're in 2023.
Well, yeah. Could be any place in the world where there's deformities, but yeah.
I just think it's... No, more meant like this like dungeony cells thing. Right, yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
okay, yeah. Probably it's perverse. Yeah, no, absolutely. Could still happen. And so, yeah, it's like let's call him Tobey Maguire. I can't remember what his name is, but it's... Is
that Spider-Man?
Yeah. He's like, oh, come see this amazing guy I've got to show you. Past this alligator in the sewer. And he's like this guy, basically a guy with a mask who eats mice, rats or whatever. It's like, well, that's super impressive, that is.
That needs to go on film, that does. And it's like, oh, well, actually, the fact that you're saying that, the funny thing is it is on film.
Yeah.
Already, and I'm watching it, and it's like, no, I'm okay. There's people just having sex, like, in every corner when they're walking through. It's just getting darker and darker as you go through the...
I mean, that's happened to the start, but in nicer settings, in a sense. Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know, it's just all grotesque, and just... I'm like, I'm not there for that. Didn't think this film was going to take me down that path.
Yeah, that all kind of leads to him, Manny, getting out, because they kind of find him, shoot his friends, and the roommate of his.
Manny pisses himself, basically, saying, please leave me alone. I'll go away, I'll disappear.
Oh, at this point, also, Nellie's like, admitting, like, oh, we got to get out to Mexico, and we'll run away, get married, and all that kind of stuff.
I think she just gives that to Manny, just to...
I know we said that, didn't we? Like, yeah, something's going to happen to her. She's just saying that to string him along, and then she's
make him happy and let him
just wander off into the darkness, and you never see her again.
I think she wants Manny to have his own life, and she even said, "I'm better off without you. Yeah. You're better off without me," and everything like that. And she just wants him to move on and be better. She seems like she knows that she drags him down, and I think that's why she walks off.
Yeah.
She says, I'm ready now, it's fine, I'm content with my peace and basically dying.
With it, yeah.
So she was only 34.
Oh, when the newspapers says that, yeah.
But they just say they've found her body. Yeah. So they don't really know if she got shot, how she actually died, you do not really see, which I'm quite grateful for.
Yeah, I don't need to look on that too much. It was just like a newspaper article. And said it. And then on the other side of things, earlier than that was Jack.
Oh,
he's kind of like getting to like gives. I think he's at the end of his career essentially. With he's having to do these like bit parts in. Oh, because it's a favour for a friend to be like, oh, you like some like the older folks in film. Like we have these, like say Bruce Willis or Robert De Niro haven't been in absolute garbage straight to DVD type films just to be like, oh, they're in it. It's got to be worth something, right?
Yeah, it's got to be good because they used to be
they're
brilliant.
Just doing that cash grab basically for that, and so he's kind of like, I'm done with this, and he
doesn't really have anyone, bless him, either. So he just go from wife after wife after wife, and he doesn't actually have anyone who generally just loves him. And I think that must be exhausting. And he's like, well, why am I here if I don't have anything to actually give the world anymore? They don't enjoy watching my films or my art, so sadly he does kill himself. And I think that comes from his friend topping himself as well.
Yeah, as well. There's was playing hard on him, who also killed himself as well, so they're playing heavy on his mind.
Yeah.
So then we jump forward to the very end to 1952, and Manny's back in LA visiting with his family.
Yep, little daughter and wife.
Yeah, so here's the studio I used to work at.
I'm bored. That was me when my dad took me to NASA, and I was about, I don't know, how old are you in year 6?
Very
like
young,
11, 10. This is boring. So I kind of related to that little girl, where his dad's like, oh, but, this is what I used to do, and when she gets older, she'll probably find it really interesting.
Yeah.
And then he pays
50 cents.
I know,
to go see a film.
Bargain.
Yeah.
And it's Singing in the Rain. And
because he makes a point saying, "Oh, have you seen any movies?" To the security guys. No, I haven't seen movies for a long time. So he's probably have no idea what he's going in to see. It's not like, oh, I've heard great things about this or whatever, like that thing.
And for him, it's like a flashback of everything that he's kind of seen and being like, oh,
yeah, I've lived through this, because he's actually in tears as he's watching.
And I don't know if it's good tears or if he's kind of remembering Nelly a little bit.
It's probably a bit of both. It's like the good times and the bad times, but he's kind of lived through that era. He knows firsthand how it's been from going from silent films to talkies and stuff. So it's a bit bittersweet for him. And one of my favourite sequences from this film, and it is when you see him obviously starting to break down watching the film, and then it kind of pans down to other people down in the lower quadrant of the cinema, and it spans across seeing all different ages, race, young and old, whatever, it's enjoying Singing in the Rain as it's just about to start up. Keeps panning up around, gonna zoom up from a bird's eye view, and I think even if the film had ended there, that would have been perfect. Kind of leading into the credits go I'm Singing in the Rain. Yeah. Kind of, that would have been great. But not to say that how it ended was rubbish, but I'm just saying that would have been awesome. Wanted to wrap it up, but then it kind of then goes, I was for Manny to remember certain things from his past, from the very beginning, and then it does this kind of montage flash through of all the different things of cinema, from again, films that us as the viewer might know from all the old films, and then going to the modern films, you've got Jurassic Park, and now technology's improved so much from the early days, and it's kind of oh wow, this is what cinema is and how far we've come. And
I didn't enjoy the flashing. It was a little bit too much, and it got a little bit weird towards the end with paint splattering down and all of that, and then it's
just the colour and vibrancy of what the films have.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. But I think it was even with that, it was sort of an impactful look at, for me personally, how important cinema is and how it still leaves that kind of impact with the films that you watch, and especially the ones Singing in the Rain. That is still held up in such high regard that the film had to obviously literally pay homage to it and include things like the All Day Long.
I think certain bits and nod to it are great, and I love the fact that it appreciates it, but there's certain parts of this film they just don't sit with me so well. But the fact that they do think of Singing in the Rain highly, which is my favourite film, and they're not taking the absolute mick out of it, is great. Yeah. Not very original though.
What do you mean?
Because literally just doing Singing in the Rain, isn't it?
Right, is that one of your main gripes?
Maybe.
I think, as I said, how that's a homage in a nice way to it works.
Is that the word we use when we copy something, but it's done in a tasteful manner, that it's not literally just replicating something and not being original? But yeah. With the scorings, are we doing them now? We do. And you're going first.
Yep. I think I will say I can't give it high, like total top marks.
Agreed.
Mainly because some of the things in it are, even for me, are a bit like, I couldn't do that without that.
It's a bit uncomfortable, isn't it?
Yeah.
A bit dark in some aspects.
I kind of, going into it, I sort of knew about that, because I think, this one is, I feel like, is a bit mixed. And say, I feel like even if you had a briefer part of that first 30 minutes segment, shorten that down. But I guess it's kind of more to show, like, introducing our characters.
If we just had the Margot Robbie bit, it's like, that would have been fine, like her coming on and dancing, and didn't really need the fair scene about her pussy and all of that.
Yeah, I suppose. So, length-wise, I'm not opposed to long films, but I think it's 3 hours and 8 minutes. I know the 8 minutes was, in fact, probably the credits, but even so, it's not something like, let's, like, can't wait to see that again type of thing, and be like,
no, I agree. I think
give it a bit of breathing space. But for the majority of how it highlights what the process of, from the early days of cinema going through the years, how the characters develop, and their stories are different in certain aspects, and it's quite interesting. And the music again is like the jazzy influence that Sydney has in as well, as great. So I'm going to put it at a 9, because I don't think it's 10 worthy.
No, I agree. It's not,
and
which is disappointing with it being the director for La La Land, and that
Whiplash,
and we rate them highly. I think for me as well, with it being Singing in the Rain, shoehorning that in when it's my favourite film that's a 10 is a bit tricky for me to give this a 10.
No, I get you.
I agree, it's a 9 from me. There's certain bits that I love, and I think I could condense this down to a really great film for me, which would be getting rid of the shit, the sick, and
the dark cellar type thing. Yeah, okay. So you have to take the rough with the smooth, I guess, in this.
But it has to be highly marked for Margot Robbie's performance. She's fantastic. Yeah, she's just brilliant, and the fact that she can cry on demand. The story behind it is really solid, and I enjoy seeing the character development throughout the years, and how life kind of can take a toll on you, and you can see what paths people go down and what choices they make, which always is a big tick for me. It's beautifully filmed with the way that it's shown about a film.
Yep.
But seeing the sets and seeing different formats and medias and such, I appreciate all of that.
Yeah, me too.
I just, there's certain parts I can't make it a 10. I would eventually watch this again. It wouldn't be a no, I'm never seeing it ever again. Yeah. I'd probably just walk out of the room when there's certain scenes I don't like.
Yeah, because you know what's coming now.
Just go for a toilet break when she's been sick. Not like,
honestly, I don't think if it was like, I normally do, like, where it's something you haven't seen before and I have, and it'd be like, oh, Sophie's going to hate this kind of thing, I'd be more worried and cautious about showing you this. But the way we've done, where we've both seen it for the first time, it kind of, you got to see what happens type of thing, and you kind of do. So for the whole length of it, you don't know necessarily what's going to happen. Lead, so,
no, you don't.
And the fact that it is so heavily influenced on Singing in the Rain, and then that last part was like my favourite part of the film, where it's kind of like just seeing whole generations enjoying the film. So which is
I think Singing in the Rain is that kind of film where you can put it on for anyone, and it's just a happy, joyful film. And
that's why
I feel like I can't expect anyone to tell me that they hate it.
If you do, give us a comment and see what your case in point is for that.
I'll have an argument for everyone.
And she will win.
Because it's my birthday.
No, just because you'll defend it to the heavens.
I will. Yeah.
So the next film I'm going to be talking about is Enchanted, which is my first time watch.
I've been waiting for a true love's kiss. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah.
Amazing.
Thanks. I don't know why I went deep for it, but
was it Edward?
Yeah, it was more doing the Prince, and they put girls' version for some reason.
Yeah. So you said you'd how many times have you seen this film? Is this another once?
I think this is another once, or maybe like a once and a half.
Okay,
if that makes sense. You know, like it's on telly and you finish watching it.
Okay,
I've actually watched it once all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason behind me kind of picking this one, because I think it was a toss-up between, there was a couple actually, just like Heaven, because I know you haven't seen that, and Uptown Girl, which has Brittany Murphy in. That's cool.
Who's in 8 Mile.
Yeah. So. But this one kind of came up and I was like, it was, people at work were saying, I remind them of Giselle. And I was like, I'm not sure if this is a compliment or not. I'm hoping it's the calmer Giselle at the end instead of like the beginning when she's becoming into the world, because even I find her irritating. And I knew secretly that you would somewhat appreciate this, but at the same time hate it a little bit.
You mean the appreciation for the fact there's kind of like that old, well, I say old style, the animation, like the classic Disney kind of style of elements, which to me, I did like, and I feel like, if there was more of that in the film, it would have been great. Yeah. And I think you quite liked the reveal of the voice characters, because they were, whoever was voicing that character then came into the real world and was a character. Yeah. So you're like, oh yeah, I thought it was that person. So for example, the chipmunk. No, he wasn't revealed. Pip. It was the lackey of the queen,
evil queen,
and he's like, I think that's Timothy Spall, who's he's
Peter Pettigrew.
Yeah, from Harry Potter. Yeah,
I don't know his actual name.
I think he looks like the character in the cartoon version. And I'm thinking, is it going to be him when he comes into real life? It's like, oh yeah, he is. Yeah.
I do really appreciate that, and I think Giselle as a character, she has progression throughout as well. And I think it must be tricky to be acting like a real life princess in the middle of New York. It kind of gives me a little bit of Elf.
Like a fish out of water type of scenario. Like Elf was, yeah.
Yeah, I think she's like the equivalent of the female version of Elf. Where she's being over the top, over exaggerating. And I think once I'd told myself it's pretty much a female version of Elf, I was like, I'm okay with that because I absolutely love Elf. So I was like, I actually seem to enjoy it a lot more for that aspect. Because she does certain things where she's lost. She goes to like an old man, like old men are nice, and then he steals her tiara because he's homeless and he wants to, get some food and shelter for the night. There's other people in New York, which reminds me a little bit of Home Alone, where they're like, shouldn't be going down this alley kind of thing.
Watch it, kid.
Yeah. And then you get your nice people who actually take her in, where she's like going, excuse me, on a billboard because it's a castle, and she thinks...
that's the way to the castle, and she didn't understand the concepts of all that stuff, and it's...
Yeah. You do have some gripes, I know you did, because the fact that when she is in this apartment...
Yeah, how do you know what a vacuum is? But then she's confused at how a shower works, which I think is more of a basic thing that will definitely exist in her fairy tale universe.
She'd have a waterfall, Paul. It wouldn't be a shower, but she wouldn't have a Hoover. Like, more realistically, a broom would make more sense.
Yeah.
I get you. I do.
Yeah. So there's those kind of like nitpicks. I'm thinking, it doesn't,
not very coherent.
With the thing. And she's singing the song and she gets all the... Because she's got that ability in the cartoon world where she can sing, and obviously like Snow White weather where the little birds come in and the little furry rabbits and all that kind of stuff come along. And in New York, it's vermin, basically pigeons, rats, and flies.
Just shows what's kind of in New York, really. Yeah. I do feel like it has a lot of nods to different Disney stories.
Properties, yeah, absolutely. It's got a.
We've got Snow White, I feel like, in there as well. Cinderella.
There's a witch, isn't there? That kind of like pretty much is like, oh, have poison apple.
Yeah. And shoves her down the well, and so you kind of, it's your old traditional Disney.
It's almost like what Disney's doing now, where they're just rehashing the classics and just making it live action. But they were doing it like before, but it's like homaging.
It was putting them all together.
Even before they were too lazy to like not make a unique princess character and just go, oh, let's just do the exact same thing that we did from years and years ago, which is infinitely better.
I do think this has some quality to it, though. Has some form of charm, being real life, and I think because it's not exactly homage to anything, it's just a nod to certain Disney's
fairy tale books.
It works, and she is a very good princess, even though she's technically not a princess.
Yeah, you never say like she's not classed in that realm of those. Is she like in the like typical princesses that you would see? Like say,
but she never gets to be a princess if you think about it. Cause she don't get married, does she?
No, true.
So she's not. She just lives in the woods.
But yes, Amy Adams, who plays the role of Giselle, and I feel like she's like the real life like princess character that would be. So she plays it well. Obviously, like so from the beginning, it's a bit. I say it might be a bit irritating, like how many times she says "ooh" and "oh."
There you go, Paul. I'll do it for you.
And so, like, you make a drinking game out of it, you'd be wasted in like 30 minutes because that's almost all she does.
And all she does doing is falling over.
Yeah.
But she's in this ridiculous ash dress, bless her. Like, it's huge, it's massive. And you don't understand how hard it is to walk and stuff like that. But it is irritating at the same time. We do have the dad and Morgan that kind of take her in, and I think he does it for his daughter's sake. Because she's like, Daddy's a real princess. And I think her acting for her age is great. Like,
it's pretty alright. So there's like a part when she's like leaving, and she looks like she's genuinely upset.
Yeah, she
rather opposed to just like, looking a bit sad, you know. And it's like as some kids would do, and
I think she really enjoys her role, and
you know the wonder of like, oh, it's almost like, you know, when you go to, I've never been obviously to Disneyland, and the kids like say, oh, it's Cinderella or whatever, and being like, it's the most amazing thing ever.
I think the other bit that reminds me of Elf is when she makes her clothes out of curtains, and I feel like Elf somewhat does that in the kitchen where like he's making them breakfast and he makes an absolute mess of the house. And I think it's kind of those that refine it to Elf in a sense for me. She makes some beautiful clothing though. I'd be like, I want you to make me something out of my bedding or something like that.
Talking of other like princesses, we've got, I said to you like, oh, it's Idina Menzel who's voices Elsa in.
And I was like, yeah, no. And then you were a little bit like, huh? How do you know this? And I was like, because I know that's the person who voices Elsa and does the singing and everything. And then I went, she was from Glee. And you were like, I'm like, yeah, I know this.
So we were versed in that book.
Bless her, she's kind of categorised as the evil stepmother, as Disney would have them be.
In the real world,
Yeah, to be fair, anyone who's a step-parent, I don't think they're evil. Because the thought of you having to look after someone else's child can't be easy.
Yeah, it's just that the child would normally perceive it as not the same as mummy or daddy or whatever, but trying to change them or whatever. But
we do have like a sad story with Morgan and her dad because their mum left for no apparent reason. It's not like she was killed or anything like that. It's just she fell out of love and didn't want to be part of that.
Why he's like, what's it called, Robert? And he's like, that's why he's this like attorney or whatever he is in like this divorce.
Lawyer. He's like a bit of a cynic. He doesn't believe in happy endings.
To get those, that's whereas Giselle's like, oh no, happy endings do exist.
I don't know if that's kind of me because I'm always like glass half full kind of girl normally. But everyone says, oh, you're so positive. And I'm thinking, am I? I think I'm a positive negative. I think. I'm negatively positive.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, that is now.
Right. And he's trying to see the bright side of things. Oh, things, you know, like there is hope for people and
I think
things like that.
He really likes Giselle just because she brings that light and happiness into their family. So she's telling Morgan a good night bedtime story. And she's saying, oh, well, that's just how Red says it. And he's like, oh, that's an interesting story that you were telling Morgan. And, you know, I'm really glad you're here for her. And she's like, well, I'm just, you know, telling the story as it is. And he gets quite angry at her because it's like, well, stop putting this pretense on as he sees it should be. But actually, it's not the case. She's just generally nice and she's a Disney princess who's fallen from a well.
Up from a sewer, yeah.
Yeah. There is the big scene, obviously, of how does she know that you love her in the park and everything that goes on for quite a while as well.
Yeah. I think that's another thing, like with the way that's worded as well, like with certain lines in that. But you can nitpick that to bits, but the way that comes across. But I wouldn't say that was like an offensive song. It wasn't like too like, oh god, make it stop type of thing. And to be fair, it's not like a typical thing where there's like loads of musical numbers in a Disney film. So I kind of appreciate that in a sense.
And as well, it got a bit jazzy with like the brass drums.
Still, Jamaican.
Yeah. So there's like quite a nice touch to it. I think it gets a little bit worse when Prince Edward comes on the scene.
And I kind of figured from his character drawing, it's like, oh, it's James Marsden who seems to be shoehorned into these things. We have to deal with live action furry characters.
He's like the pro, isn't he?
You got Hop, which we've covered.
Yeah.
He's been in Sonic.
Yeah.
And what was the other one now? I feel like it's something else he's also done with that. But the fact that he's in this where he's having to talk to a chipmunk.
Yeah.
That's surprised he did work with Alvin and the Chipmunks one or whatever, but somebody else.
I'm surprised he didn't talk, to be fair, but
I think he was. No, he wasn't he? The bad love interest in The Notebook, wasn't he?
Oh my god, yes. That's the only actual real role he's played, I feel. I didn't even know that was him until you've just said it. My eyes are like pinged. What the hell? Yeah, he was. He was like the one that she was going to go for instead of Noah.
Yeah. And so in this, he's also like a one that's not the one she goes for in the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's kind of, I don't know what he signs up for these things, or his agent's just really bad, or what, I don't know. But
God love him. Somebody has to play the role, sadly.
Yeah.
He does do it well though. He's over the top. He's very annoying, and Giselle in the end looks more appealing as a character by the end.
At least she grows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas he's like, what is this magical box? And that kind of stupid.
And there was one part where it made me laugh because I saw your face and I was like, it was going through like a hotel whizzy kind of spindly door.
Oh yeah, I thought this joke's going to go on for a bit longer than it does, but thankfully it didn't.
It was great. I thought, yeah, that's just right, because I think if they'd carried on going through that, it'd annoy me, it would.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of appreciated that it didn't go on for too long.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we're already getting towards the end.
Yeah, that's fine.
No, and it's just like, how long do we spend on Babylon compared to this? But it is what it is. It says it is what it is on the tin, pretty much.
Yeah, I think it's more the fact that like Giselle realizes and grows, like everything's not as happy and clappy as she makes out to be in the cartoon world that she once was, and she even gets to the point like, I'm feeling, what is this emotion? It's like, I'm angry. I'm actually angry at you, because it's like the frustration. I guess that's how you love someone as well, in a sense, because like you actually feel something that is negative, but at the same time you still want to hang out with them or be with them or whatever. And
I think for her as well, it's like teaching children, because I think the first time they feel annoyed or angry or sad, it's a confusing emotion to have, and still nowadays, like as adults, you can be frustrated and cry, and you're still like, what's up with me? Why am I feeling this way? And I think it's clever the way that she's portraying, this is the first time I've been angry. And it's okay for me to be that way.
Right. And not everything is like pristine and perfect.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is some good in the world. Like one of the couples that Robert's like dealing with, Giselle kind of opens their eyes a little bit, like, how beautiful our eyes are or anything like that kind of stuff. And so then the couples soon realise, oh, maybe we don't need to be getting to a divorce and kind of fall back in love with one another.
We can work through this and actually talk to each other.
Yeah. So it makes you kind of realise that it's not like a sour note or like, oh, marriages is terrible and everything. That's what's the point kind of thing. It's actually like highlighting that as well. So
we get to a point of where the evil stepmother
realizes is actually Edward's stepmother.
Yeah. And it's quite cute because Giselle says, oh, not all stepmothers are awful. Edward's got one and she's wonderful. And actually she's the most horrible one of them all. Her and Morgan get to go on a little girly shopping spree as well. And
for the ball, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Nancy gets very jealous of Giselle and is a bit like, well, who is she? Why are you having this random woman? I don't sleep over at your house. Why am I having to be, shoehorned and not be accepted? But this woman that you just picked up off the street, you're letting her in your home. But obviously I think it's because Morgan really, really looks up to her, and it's like when they're on the little girly trip, it's like, have you ever done this with your mom? And she's like, no, I don't have a mom. And they're kind of having a little mother-daughter moment, but neither one of them actually knowing what that is.
Or knowing what men only want one thing and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
Nobody tells me.
Yeah. And the fact, like, it's only for emergencies. And with Daddy's credit card. This is an emergency. You need a dress. So when he sees her coming down the steps and she's looking absolutely stunning. And I really like the thought of that, because Giselle comes down and she's in a quite sleek, straight,
simplistic
down dress. One colour. And everyone else is dressed in your typical ball gown.
Yeah, masquerade
poofy,
type thing.
And the wigs and everything. Yeah. And it's quite a contrast, because that's kind of what she was in from the get-go.
Yeah. Switched around into a more modern, sleek style things. Yeah. And
you can see the dad absolutely... Yeah. Well, yeah, like even you said, well, I know which one I'd want.
It's not just because, Amy Adams is...
Ginger.
It's just,
biased much. At least she's a real ginger. She's not a fake one, I don't think, like Emma Stone.
Yeah.
Shoot on that. I don't really hate Emma. I only don't like her because she...
Yeah, I know.
I feel like I have to have a love-hate relationship with her. It's coming from a jealous side. It's fine.
The stepmother comes into the real world as well. And she's, fine, I'll do it myself, kind of.
Yeah, because Peter Pettigrew's not doing really well with the apples, is he?
No. And I've got to say that prosthetics of her actually being the witch in the real world, and it's like, it's convincing. It doesn't look like a really crappy makeup or anything. It looks genuinely like pretty decent prosthetics.
What about when she becomes a dragon?
That, not so much.
Okay.
Yeah. That's like, it's trying to be like scary, but it looks too cutesy at the same time.
Oh, really?
Like with the eyes and stuff. And
I think it's like a girly version. I think that's what it is. It's trying to make it a girl dragon and be a bit...
Yeah, but even like you think like Maleficent in the Sleeping Beauty, and that's obviously that's cartoon, but that's literally just a dragon. It doesn't talk or anything like that.
What about Shrek's dragon?
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, but at least that has some intimidating look about it. But obviously it's more of a feminine side to it. But yeah. Well, it actually looks more like a dragon. This looks more like a long serpentine type one. But and it's
I do think though, for me as a woman, the fact that the man becomes the damsel in distress. I think Disney are trying to be clever there, because normally it's the princess that needs saving. And she actually saves her true love.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. Fair point.
Credit. Yeah.
Credit where it's due.
Obviously, you have to have the true love's kiss, which Edward tries initially, and it's not working.
Yeah.
I don't really know what the dad's name's called, so I'm just going to call him Robert.
Yeah. It's my middle name.
Oh, yeah. Basically, he kisses her, and she wakes up, and then the Queen snatches him off, and you get this kind of action scene, don't you?
Action that lasts about 2 minutes, because I was a bit baffled like what even happened in that time, because like the little chipmunk guy comes, he puts his belly out or something, and then the dragon's like, it's too much weight, and then it falls and then into a sparkly mess on the floor, and like what happened there? I kind of feel like there needed to be more impactfulness or some, I don't know, just seemed very rushed.
And then they swap partners, and it's all okay. They're not bothered. Nancy goes with Edward and becomes his princess in the fairy tale.
Yeah.
And then we have Giselle and Robert. Yeah. And Morgan that live happily ever after.
They do like a little montage of what they're doing now, kind of thing.
I quite like the way they've done that though in a book. And
pop-up book, yeah.
That's quite beautifully done, and it's with this, two different mediums.
That kind of, I forget when did the film come out, because it's kind of like that typical like indie pop ballad
early
music.
2000s, yeah.
It felt like that way, like everything's awesome and great. That kind of thing.
And then they all live happily ever after. Yeah. There is a Cinderella aspect of, obviously, Giselle loses her shoe. Mm-hmm. Even I pointed out, Giselle's character is like maybe a 4 shoe or a 5, and then Nancy, bless her, I think she's about a 7, and you can clearly tell the shoe, what was on the floor, would not fit her foot because it's completely massive in comparisons. But yeah, just something I noticed.
Yeah, they just got a different shoe for that shot.
Yeah,
like swap it out. Yeah,
yeah.
It's
like, well, why don't you just keep the big shoe and then it would have looked coherent because it wouldn't have mattered.
Minor details.
Yeah. Overall, quite an enjoyable experience. Not really that hard pressing and
not
too much going
not
on.
painstaking or like that. So
didn't cause you too much agony.
No, wouldn't say so.
Apart from at the beginning where you're like, oh, this is irritating, but then it grows. I think the back end is a lot more stronger than the beginning.
For the most part, yeah.
Am I like this character?
No, if you're referring to like the beginning part where everything's all...
Maybe the second part then, if I'm just nice and friendly.
Yeah, you are friendly. Yeah.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There's no TT friendly. No. I think that's just because people might just perceive you that way from...
Probably because I'm a lot nicer at work. Like somebody said, I never really can imagine you yelling. And I was like,
Yeah.
Like, somebody actually said, can you yell at me? And I was like, I'm not yelling at you.
For the sake of it.
Yeah.
Do something wrong then maybe.
Yeah, but then I'd just probably in my head.
Yeah.
And then tell you when I get home.
Yeah. Right. So, score.
Yeah, it's you again, isn't it?
It's me.
Loving life. Da, 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 da. Think of the song.
I don't think I can say like really negative too much because I think the intention was to put me through the ringer a little bit with it, but I think it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to really like despise it.
Is it a 10?
No. Don't get your hopes up. But it might. This may or may not shock you. I don't know, but I'll put it at 6.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that a shock or
no?
No.
You kind of led me down a garden pathway. I thought it was going to be a bit higher, but
right, okay.
I'm going to put it at 7. So
okay,
I'm not far off you.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I think it's one of those things where you can put it on and, like I did say to you can play on your game.
I didn't though.
You didn't. You didn't.
I thought, no, it's not fair. Cause, like,
I said to you could because it's one of those. It's not like Babylon where you like literally just have to watch because you're like, what the hell's going to happen next? It's you kind of know where it's going and you predicted, them two were going to swap partners before it happened and. But,
yeah, whether the ball, yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is, but it's also quite nice and light-hearted to have on. Has got a good moral behind it.
Yeah.
It's nice with the way that the mediums are and such, so I feel like 7 is middle ground for me.
No, but another... I wouldn't say necessarily a Disney classic, but for a modern take on things, it works, and I did appreciate the animation, so that's... just... a bit more of that would have gone amiss. Or I don't know if it would have worked, the entire film being animated. Maybe.
I'd have loved that.
Be ace. But,
also, you had a ginger lady in it as well, so you're biased. And lastly, but not least, the film both of us have seen, not together, is...
Until
right now, is 8 Mile, starring obviously... back in 2000s, the most famous white rapper there is, which is Eminem.
His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti. He's nervous, but on the surface, he looks calm and ready to drop bombs, but he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking now. Everybody's choking now. I forgot the rest of the words.
You do so well.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for you to say step back to reality.
Oh,
oops,
there goes gravity. Yep, there goes. Yeah, okay, right, stop that now. We'll get copyright striked.
So, I want to just do a little bit of a background on this.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
And I want yours as well. I don't just want mine.
Okay, yeah, fair enough, yeah.
So the first time I watched this film, I felt like I was fairly young. I don't know what rating this is, but I feel like...
15?
Yeah, I think I was younger than that. My sister was a massive Eminem fan, and I absolutely hated him.
Right.
Believe it or
Any
not.
reason?
Because he swore. And I think I was only little, and I was like, oh, he's swearing. And I remember a girl in this playground going, oh, Sophie, you say the F word. I was like, no, I'm not saying that. Because it's a naughty word.
Very high ranking word, not even shit.
No, like the F-bomb. So then my sister said it, and she like got like
scolded, yeah.
Yeah, because she was so cool for saying it. My mum wasn't around. It was just me, my sister, and like some friends. And they were like, "Oh, Sarah's so cool," because she said the F-bomb.
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, I won't say it. Just because Eminem says it, I'm not saying it." Anyways, going back to it, Sarah really wanted to watch this to the point where she nagged like my mum to watch it.
Right. Okay.
Like she had every album there was, believe it or not.
Up to that point, you didn't done that.
Yeah. Like the Red Curtain one, definitely.
That came after this film.
Unless we watched it a bit later, then we might not have watched it straight away.
You didn't go to the cinema?
No. It was on like a disc or telly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So we sit down as family, we watch it. And I'm only little, and there's two scenes that I can remember quite well.
Mm-hmm.
One is the sex scene, which is...
impressionable like that.
Yeah, and I was a bit like, God, this is grotesque. Like, there's this woman's arse, and, like, I'm sure I think I saw her boobs, I think.
Yeah,
actually,
in a bra, yeah.
Yeah, it's not as bad. It's quite tame now, but for a little person who's not seen...
not as extreme as Babylon, yeah.
Yeah, I was a bit like, this is a bit, like, wrong. And what was the other one? I think the rapping scene at the end.
Yeah, the big MC battle, yeah.
Yeah.
At the end.
And there was actually, I think, the one where obviously his mum is sleeping with somebody. So I remember it being quite...
So two sex scenes you remember?
Sex-orientated.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I remember from being a child watching this.
Okay.
And absolutely thinking it was... I don't know, I thought it was cool because I'd watched it. Because not many people my age had watched it. But at the same time, I don't know if when I watched it again, it held up to how I felt when I watched it the first time.
It's impactful, you mean?
Yeah.
I think.
What were your scenarios? I bet you didn't watch it with your mum and dad, did you, like me? Because I think that's a bit awkward sometimes, them scenes like that with your parents.
Yeah. No, I didn't. It wasn't the same kind of avenue that way you went down. So people may or may not know, in fact, that I'm a big fan of hip-hop music. It was when... year 9, what age would you have been?
Year 9, you'd have been...
I think about...
If 7, you're like 13 and 13, 12.
About 15-ish.
Maybe 14, 15,
yeah, around that age then. And it's when I started listening to, like, getting into more into music, basically, like radio and stuff. And there was, here in the UK, it was called...
The radio? What do people know that about now?
Was it It was Galaxy.
Galaxy FM, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Jojo and...
Kirsty, Danny and Jojo.
Oh, yes.
Were the hosts on that. And I picked up a lot of the music taste from a lot of... I think a lot of other people at school used to listen to or whatever. But
it was the most popular station. Like, everybody listened to it.
So it's where you... R&B... the dance music wasn't that interested, but like the hip hop stuff really grabbed me and drew me in.
As well, for our era, we had a lot of R&B and hip hop. Like
that was sort of a peak of that, really. Yeah, R&B in that sort of type of sense. Yeah, Ashanti and Beyonce and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Alicia Keys. You've got
So it really struck a chord with me. I don't even know why, because even thinking about me like a really bit of white kid, like really like getting into the black man's.
You still are today,
music,
though. Like you do.
It still feels fresh and exciting with how it's come along, and for what reason, and the fact that Eminem being a white rapper and like probably the most successful white rapper.
I don't know any others.
Vanilla Ice tried, but he didn't get very far. And then I think there's been other ones, but they don't hold really a candle to his music. I mean, Eminem's music now is a bit, but back in the heyday, he's like at his peak. And so this came out like getting the first one was like the major one was Slim Shady LP, then the Marshall Mathers one. And then this film came out shortly after that. And then it was the Eminem Show, which is the Red Curtain one. That was 2003, I believe. So
I think Sarah had all three of those.
Yeah,
I think
I did, and and really, really liked the music. And
I think I was drip fed it by Sarah. To be fair, I don't really think I went out of my way, but I think you and Sarah are similar ages to be acceptable to be listening to that kind of music and thinking you're cool. And
Yeah.
I think for me, I really need to go back and listen to Eminem now as an adult and appreciate it a lot more, because when we were watching this, the bits that I enjoyed was like listening to his music.
Not just his music in this film, the other. I mean, for me, obviously, I'm no more of the hip hop music tracks that are playing in this, and they're really solid picks, really, for what they are.
Yeah.
And again, stuff that I've listened to as from back then when I was going through the music, and sort of still do now some of the ones.
But I didn't realise how a masterpiece Eminem's music is, and I know that sounds stupid, like even the piano, like the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, and the certain keys and like the...
You mean the Lose Yourself
track,
at the end? Yeah,
like when you hear it kind of...
Iconic, yeah, it's one of his most iconic
without him
tracks.
actually really singing, just that
that
interlude.
Leading in,
yeah.
Leading into the song, and then and the guitar bit that leads into it, yeah.
I don't think when I was young I actually really appreciated everything that was actually going into his songs, and lyrically as well, how clever and how fast he sings it. So Eminem as an artist, yes, his music's not so great nowadays, but still I hold him highly. I wouldn't say he's, a shit artist or anything like that. I wouldn't say I'm as much in love with him as you and my sister would have been.
And so for me, like the film itself, like I think I didn't obviously go to cinema to see or anything like that, but I think again, just have it on the disc when it was like HMV or wherever, and I like his music, let's see what he's doing in this film. And
did you watch it on your own?
Yeah, yeah. And
was it a couple of years after it had been released?
It would have been if it was a DVD, yeah.
Yeah.
But
I don't know if Mars was actually like a Blockbusters thing, probably. Like we just rented it. Don't think we actually had a physical bought copy.
But saying I've seen it only the once prior to us rewatching this,
yeah,
I still, like I say, I kind of remembered most of the storyline.
It's not that hard to remember.
Yeah.
If I'm honest.
I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, really, but...
Well, it's memorable, so that's obviously
positive.
positive.
It has an impact.
But the story really isn't...
It's your typical, I want to get out of this city kind of thing and make it big.
I do feel for him, though. He has a lot of crap in his life, like being raised in a trailer park, having a shitty mum that don't really care. God knows where his dad is. Typical,
like, story of, they've left. And
she's dating a guy that's literally the same age as him.
Yeah.
She's sick of him and saying, oh, you ruin my life all the time, and blaming him. Which you should never blame anyone for your life, basically. It's your choice at the end of the day what you do with it. If you choose wisely or incorrectly, then that's your fault. It's on you, isn't it?
But everything, like, it's not... Detroit's not put in a nice light at all. No. It looks grey, grim, and just absolute shithole, basically. Yeah. It's like, no wonder you want to get out of the place.
Riches to rags rags to riches, so to speak. He's like the lowest of the low you could possibly get. That's how it feels. Like he's got no money, nothing. He hasn't even got a house. He's not got...
Yeah, he's just got a shitty job.
He's got a crap car that doesn't even want to start.
Yeah.
He's got a girlfriend who he's kind of saying, oh, I think she's pregnant, so I've left her. And they're not going to be there. He's got his little sister.
Yeah.
Who's called Lily. And she's got, like, the shittest upbringing ever. Like, her mum... Part of me does wonder why isn't she at school, because I think she's pretty much for that age that she should be going to school unless it's the summer holidays. She's literally, all she does is colour and just stay in a caravan, and that is literally all she experiences.
Yeah.
But for her, she knows no better, no wiser. Eminem, several jobs that is kind of in and out of work, it sounds. It does seem...
track record was... But yeah,
and the only thing that kind of gives him life is joining these battles. And
at the start, he doesn't even seem to want to do those. He's kind of been roped into it by these people who kind of see his talent, but he's a bit like he's nervous.
He chokes, yeah,
yeah. Like these rap battles, which the basis of those kind of things are, and in most hip hop, obviously like talking smack to one another, and it's like, oh, I'm better than you, in this way. I've got this. You're shit.
And I think that's why the ending seems quite highly impactful the way he does it, because
he's got more of a punch to, and he's gone through with this other, what they call the Free World Gang or whatever they're called. Yeah.
And initially they kind of are the superior, they think they're better.
Yeah.
And in the end, he kind of comes through, doesn't he? And I think it's you're rooting for the underdog, basically, within this. That's what this film's
it's
about.
Underdog story, yeah.
I do feel sorry for Eminem as a character. With obviously he's called Bunny in this, or
B Rabbit, yeah.
B Rabbit.
Or his actual name Jimmy Smith Jr., which I think as a name as a Jimmy Smith is a common and basic ass name anyway, and to be like just tagged on Junior at the end is a bit like lazy. That's so lazy, but it's by the by.
Yeah, he just seems to want to get by and improve, and just wants to progress his career, and just feels like there's more to life than where he's at.
Yeah, and all his friends he's hanging around with like just talking same old shit like, oh, well, those good bitches get, like
it's like kind of
the community and whatever, and
saying what they want but never acting on it.
Yeah.
It's all talk.
Yeah.
I don't know why I went American. It's all talk. Gets a really crappy car from his mum for his birthday, and it's like, oh, here, I'm giving you a car, and it's like, it doesn't even work.
Yeah.
Like, the shittest present ever. It's like, I'm just getting rid of my junk on you, basically.
Pretty much.
They do seem to have a lot of morals within the film. So, like, for example, Detroit is one of those crappy areas and derelict by the looks of things with houses. And obviously this girl gets raped in this abandoned house.
So they kind of take it upon themselves like this. Let's not have this ever happen again, and so they burn the house down. But at the same time, it's a bit of a vandalism, yeah. And they also do that when they drive by shooting with their pellet guns and whatever. It's like, oh, I feel like those kind of people would annoy me. That's the thing. So I can't be like, rooting for them, like, oh, this is all hilarious and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It's not, because I'd be like,
especially since
type of scenario.
I think it's hard because I can see their point of view, like, well, we've got nothing, so we don't give a shit.
Make our entertainment somehow.
Yeah. But at the same time, when you're working hard and you're putting towards something, somebody doing that on your own property is a bit frustrating, because it's like, well, I'm trying my hardest here to make a living, and you're not really trying.
It's respecting,
yeah. So it's a hard line to cross.
I'm not condoning like the fact that they should be like destroying a house, or whatever.
But in their head, they're doing it for the right reasons. Even though they're fun, and obviously Eminem's character near enough gets burnt because they don't really realise he's still upstairs and they're set aligned to it.
That's his, what's he called, Cheddar Bob. He's like, set the thing on fire.
He reminds me of Badger from Breaking Bad.
A little bit, yeah.
Like, that's his character, and I think Eminem is
Jesse,
yeah, that's how I see it.
Mm-hmm. Suppose you could see it that way. But say Brittany Murphy's character, though.
God rest her soul.
Yeah. And what did you, obviously, apart from that really grimy, like, sex scene, which, like, it's not a nice place to be doing, but, like, in overall, what did you, like, seeing her, like, now as an older...
She's a bit slaggy, to be honest. She, when I first saw her, I was like, oh my goodness, she's so pretty, but actually looking at her, she is looks like a prostitute. Yeah. That's what it looks like. She's got like that leopard print curl and the stockings, high boots. Yeah, she looks like a prostitute. But in Eminem's head, she's like, no other girl looks like this. She's unique and special and different. Mm-hmm. When actually, to be fair, if I said that, she looks like your typical cliche kind of girl for that environment. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Like I've not had like. I'm not people will think that by my voice, like, oh, she's so well-to-do. She's slagging off, like, the trailer park or 8 Mile or anything like that. But to be fair, Paul's probably more of the snob in this relationship. I would say he's not really had that experience. I've grown up on rougher estates. Yeah. And I don't know how my voice sounds like this.
Your rap career. Yeah. Didn't get that far, did you?
I didn't. Like, people don't believe where I grew up, but that's because I had great parents, like, that raised me well. Mm-hmm. So it's all down to your parenting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. How you raised.
Yeah, like poor Lily, I feel like she's not got a chance because no one really communicates. You don't actually hear her speak, apart from at the back end.
No, I do feel sorry for her when, like, there's Jimmy and what's he called, the was called the stepfather. Yeah. And having that, like, fight in the trailer park, and I don't normally like that stuff anyway, obviously, like, when the kid's, like, wincing away, like, hiding away in the table, so really sorry for her kind of thing, and he's like, oh, no, I'm sorry, Lily, it's okay, don't have to just, like, swearing
and the mum's not doing much better.
Yeah.
Then she's coming home drunk and just leaving her in the caravan, and it's just ill neglect. It's like, why have a child if you're not going to be there for them? I think that really grates on me because as an older person who would possibly, I'm not very old, but I'm not a young mum. If I do become a mum, I would then want to bring this child. And I always think about that, like, am I bringing it into a good world? Am I going to give them a good life? And I think that really matters. And then it just frustrates me when people just bring children into the world and it doesn't really matter. It was
a mistake or whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
Treating them like that because
they are. For example, we've got Brittany Murphy's character. They have sex in the factory. First of all, I looked at it as an adult and went, well, that's disgusting. Because it's awfully metal, grubby. She's going to have a black bottom by the end of it. And then it's like, how uncomfortable. It's metal. It's
cold.
And it's going to dig into your back, like, for a female. Like, that's not going to be the nicest soft discussion that you could have while somebody's bashing into you. I'm sorry, he's got it lightly. He's just leaning in on her, isn't he? He's stood up. Yeah. I'm just thinking from the woman's perspective.
I know. I agree.
It's not comfortable.
No.
And then you don't see anything of, like, protection or anything like that. So it's like...
Again, in these kind of scenarios, it's not like, oh, let me just slip on the thing. It's in the moment, isn't it?
It is, but also then you're like, oh, she's pregnant and I can't afford it. And you're like, well, you shouldn't have just slid your dick in then, should you?
No. But again, it's...
Paul's face, he was like, literally like, oh my God, I can't believe she just said this. It's true.
But someone else does that anyway.
Well, yeah, she's a whore.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's fine. It's how it is. But this other guy who's like making, for one thing, like taking her to the trailer park where her mum lives, and it's like, oh, look at this loser kind of thing. He's living in trailer parks.
Yeah, and I can get you places.
Get into the studio, and then have sex in the studio, and it's like, there's some ulterior motives.
But it's all talk. I feel like
this other guy,
yeah, and he's a bit one of those. Reminds me of a bit of a Kanye, where he's like, oh, I'll be, just basically to get any higher and further up, he will just use anybody.
We've also got is it Falcon?
Falcon, yeah.
Falcon from MCU fame, Anthony Mackie. Yeah, yeah. And to be fair, I kind of misread that. I thought he was the one who had sex with Brittany Murphy in the studio.
Oh no, he's more of an ass, isn't he?
Who's?
Baby Falcon, because he's the one that always thinks he's higher and superior in the battles.
No, I think he's kind of on the sidelines thinking, I'm not really as into this as everybody else in the group seems to be.
I think he's not really lived the life everybody else has.
Yeah.
He actually went to grammar school. He's had a good upbringing. He doesn't feel like really he's being dealt.
You're not part of the making out like the rest of the crew is like, the hip hop lifestyle.
Yeah, you have to have a rough upbringing to rap
know
about
the streets and all that kind of stuff. So obviously, like at the back end, the main event really of this, when Jimmy finds his feet and does the thing, and kind of calls all his insecurities. Like, oh, I do live at a trailer park with Mum. She did sleep with me.
I think that's what's great about it.
It's like, tell me something else I don't know about myself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just to before you can say it.
I'm going to say it.
Well, I haven't got nothing to say now.
Yeah.
And in retort to that. So it's like, well, I've lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Literally, you are right. And I can't say anything bad about myself because I haven't had a bad upbringing. So literally, I have nothing. And Eminem knew that. And he was like, well, I'm just going to take every word out of your mouth that you're going to throw at me. And I'll just talk about myself. Mm-hmm. To be fair, I feel like this film... You get a good half an hour of the end, and that's about it. And I think that's the bit that I remember. And I thought there was a lot more battles within it, but there isn't actually that epic one, really. Just that one.
I don't think I like when I saw it the first time, I had a real concept of how long the film was, but it clocks in nearly 2 hours.
Does it?
Yeah, and so like I say, it wasn't. It did feel like it took a while to get to where it needed to be, but I suppose there's reasons behind it as anything does, for it to get to explain the scenario. But at the same time, it's like, it's not. I'm not really caring too much about it. I just want to get to
the battle at the end.
Yeah.
The
What's
best
about
bit.
the hip hop element to the film, not the
Yeah.
like soap drama type of kitchen sink drama. Yeah,
I get you. And I think it didn't hold as strong and as highly watching it.
Reflecting back on it.
Being older, I don't know. I don't think I thought it was. I think it's one of those films where it's more iconic when Eminem was so big at that point, and it was massive and huge, and everyone was talking about it. And now it's not dated, but I think it just doesn't seem as.
I wouldn't say necessarily was like, oh, that's the technology, and that is like really like anything, nothing to do with CGI or anything like that.
I think it's more just Eminem's popularity, and I think it's the. Like we were on about with Babylon is not his prime anymore. And when you're watching it with Eminem being so highly up there,
it's kind of again you remember him for that performance when he was at his peak. That's what you take away from the film, I guess. Even though obviously I feel like it's sort of semi autobiographical film. Yeah. It's not like this is what happened, how Eminem grew in his career kind of thing, because it's slightly different than that. But it's a fair telling of like a rise to fame in the rap world, I suppose.
Yeah, rags to riches.
Even though in a sense by the end of it he's kind of like, I'm going back to my job kind of thing because of starting work. So
it ends abruptly, doesn't it? Like, okay, right, see you later. I've got to go back to work. But I think
yeah, it's like
he's going to become famous.
Find my own way, man. And yeah. So yeah,
and that's pretty much a wrap.
Yeah.
I know. I was waiting for you to do that. So I'll go first on this one. I've actually thought about my scores before this as well. I have. You'll be proud of me. And I don't know if I'm going to be scoring this low. And it feels weird for me to do that, because when I first watched it younger, I was like, apart from the sex scenes, it was like the most like out there kind of shocking. You know, when you're little, it's a lot.
Okay, yeah.
As an adult, it's actually not that bad, and there's not
quite
a lot.
Tame, yeah.
There's not a lot really to it. But when you're younger, you're like, they're saying lots of F-bombs and people are having sex and all of that, and it's just a bit taboo. It is what it is. The best bit is the rap bit at the end, and to be fair, I don't think I'd watch it again. I've seen it now twice. I was disappointed because I thought I remember it being really great, and I think some nostalgia of it has kind of ruined it a little bit.
Yeah, it's not. Nostalgia goggles on that haven't been so clear on this one.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, it's a bit blurred.
Yeah, I
thought on it. Yeah.
So for me, it's a 6, sadly.
I thought it was going to go a lot lower, to be fair.
I think it's just for the rap battle at the end. It's not poor. There's nothing I can say that I absolutely hate, apart from them being a bit dickish and but that's portraying how he's been raised and brought up. There's not much storyline to it. It is what it is, but it does show how you can do anything if you put your mind to it.
Yeah.
But it's all right.
Yeah.
I was a bit gutted. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to be so cool talking about Eminem on my birthday, and I'm like, okay. Well,
you might be in some people's house because they wouldn't expect you to like music, I guess, but I'll recommend the film. But it's been good to revisit it, to be fair, and a new light, and let's share our various ways of how we've watched it and how we grew up with it, even though it's been only the once before. But I'm on a similar scoring rating with you. It's a 6. The main focus for me, obviously, like the music and stuff is great. That's for me. It's like, and I appreciate even those smaller bits when he's kind of like in the outside the factory and like with the other co-workers and doing little raps with it, skits, that thing. And there was some other people I know. Oh yeah, there's that rapper who's actually just a random character, but I'm like, oh yeah, I know that is somebody he's worked with or that kind of stuff from that time period and stuff. So but it's been interesting to come back to. But I say like I wouldn't be like, I want to see that again type of thing. I think it's.
Do you know what I do find funny?
What?
The fact that you've scored 8 Mile and Enchanted the same. Both somewhat the same, even though they're so diverse.
Yeah, I know, yeah. But again, you can't with the scoring of things.
I just think it's funny because I thought Eminem for you would have been higher than a 6 compared to the Enchanted, which I thought you were going to hate. So I'm quite surprised that they're both the same. Even though I am a bit insulted the fact that you score my films so lowly. And technically, Babylon was more your somewhat pick because I bought you it.
Yeah.
So I feel like you just always think, Sophie's films are shit.
No.
That's Sophie's birthday special done.
It is.
Sad. Till next year.
Yep, so it goes. Well, thank you very much for listening to this birthday special.
Sorry if it's been really long, guys. And appreciate it if you've actually listened all the way through.
And we appreciate the patrons. We'll start with them first this time around rather than going to the stuff. Yeah,
so if you do want to be a Patreon and you do want to follow us and give us love and support, then you can do that by going to our Patreon link, which is in our Linktree page.
And the address for that also is patreon.com/SP Film Viewers. And for as little as £1 or $1.50 a month, you get your name read out, like we'll do in a moment, and the opportunity to vote for a film once a month, which will be, in fact, next week's film.
Yeah. So if you do want to become a Patreon, you can still sign up now and you will get that vote, so it does count.
So, going off the list of people we've got as Patreons already, we have our newest Patreon, who's Emma. She goes by the handle @m_Hayton on Instagram. And we've got our partner, Jonesy, who goes by @WeightLossJonesy on Instagram.
We've then got Alex and Shani. So they're a couple. So Alex is under the Desperately Seeking username, and Shani's under ESDOG. Always hash it.
SDOG.
I don't like doing Shani's. I feel like next time I'm never going to do hers until she gets a better username. So you can both follow and like them two on Instagram as well. Very good friends of ours, so yeah, give them all the love.
Another friend of ours is Gren, who goes by cgren_draw on Instagram. And another friend of the podcast we've done an episode with on voices, and probably going to be doing an episode with them in October, I still believe.
Are we?
Yep.
You've got some little pat in the lines. Are we on theirs or are they on ours?
We're on theirs. That is Nico from the Good, Bad and the Weird podcast.
Not ugly.
No.
Then we've got my lovely mum, who will be spoiling me rotten, I'm sure, for my birthday. She always does. And then we have the wonderful podcast, which is Ben from Film Vloggers. I do love their chemistry they've got. I think they're the bit the opposite to us. I think they like love-hate relationship. Like Fiona is quite abrupt and tells Ben off a lot.
And Ben tells her off for, stop bumping the microphone and the levels and all that kind of stuff.
I do feel Fiona's pain. I think Paul just doesn't air how mean he is to me. I think.
Come on.
Yeah. And lastly, but not least, we have Mark, still doing his wonderful podcast as well, which is 100 Things to Learn from Film. I don't know if he's going to run out at some point, but I guess there's lots of films.
There's lots of films. And so I'm sure, like us, we've got so many things to...
Imagine me having to try and find 100 things I've learned from film. I'd have to do, in one episode. Fiona does really well with her, facts. Like, she owns that quite well in her, in their podcast as well.
And if you would like to listen to some of our other episodes, of course, you can do so by going to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. And be sure to also leave us a 5-star review. That goes a long way to help us get into the podcast algorithm and get new listeners and supporters and
all that nice stuff. So if you want to follow us on social media and wish me happy birthday, because obviously everyone just knows Paul really on there because you are the person who runs those platforms. So yeah, please wish me happy birthday. I'd really appreciate it. So you can do that by going to Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Threads, under the handle SP_filmviewers, and follow us and like us and all that jazz.
I know Sophie will very much appreciate love and support because she is I know she doesn't do the editing and stuff that often, but she is pretty much the backbone of the show. Without her, there wouldn't really be a podcast to run. So,
oh, thank you. I have it edited now and again.
Yeah.
She says when Paul is very, very busy.
Yeah.
But once Paul's not busy, I'm like, yeah, but you can do it. I hate it. You probably can tell which ones are hard. Yeah, I think since I've edited some of them, I've got a lot better at knowing how to be good on a podcast because I know what's irritating and I appreciate the hard work you put in.
I appreciate you too.
Okay, let's stop being sloppy now.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening once again, and we will speak to you next time.
Speak to you next time when I'm 1 year older.
Bye.
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 Bye.